Today, Kmart is little more than a shadow of what it once was. In the United States, only a handful of stores remain open, some tucked away in the most unlikely places. One of the last mainland locations was even forced to move its entire operation into what used to be the garden center, while the rest of the building was leased out to a more profitable tenant. For a company that once completely ruled American discount retail, this quiet, almost embarrassing existence feels like a tragic ending. But not so long ago, Kmart was everywhere. In the 1970s and 80s, it wasn't just a store. For millions of American families, it was a regular stop weekly, sometimes even more often. It was where you bought your school clothes, household essentials, birthday gifts, and sometimes even dinner. It was familiar, affordable, and deeply woven into the fabric of everyday life. So let's take a trip back in time before the bankruptcies. Before the Big K rebrands back to the golden age of Kmart, the K in Kmart comes from the name of its founder, Sebastian S. Kresge, a man so famously frugal that had he not owned the company, he probably would have been one of its most loyal customers. Kresge was known to wear cheap suits until they completely fell apart, and when the soles of his shoes wore out, he reportedly stuffed paper inside to make them last even longer. Born on a farm near Scranton, Pennsylvania, in the late 1800s, he was raised with a strong belief in hard work and thrift values that would later define his business empire. In 1899, at the age of 34, Kresge used his life savings to open a chain of 5-and-dime stores under the name S.S. Kresge. By the 1950s, the company had grown to nearly 700 locations, becoming the second largest variety store chain in the country, behind only Woolworth's. But retail was changing, and Kresge was determined to change with it. On March 1, 1962, in Garden City, Michigan, more than 4,000 curious shoppers lined up for the grand opening of the very first Kmart. Inside, customers found over 75,000 square feet of merchandise, clothing, kitchenware, home improvement supplies, sporting goods, electronics, toys, jewelry, and so much more. This was something new. For decades, only large downtown department stores offered such a wide selection, and getting there often meant dealing with traffic, crowds, and limited parking. Kmart flipped that model on its head. These massive stores were built in the suburbs, close to where people actually lived, with huge free parking lots right outside the door. The concept was an instant runaway success. By the early 1970s, Kmart had more than 800 stores across the country. In 1976 alone, the company opened an astonishing 271 new locations in a single year. With over 1,000 stores and $8.4 billion in sales, Kmart had officially become the second largest retailer in America, trailing only Sears. What made Kmart so special was that it truly had something for everyone. Families could buy nearly everything they needed, all in one place. You could run in for just a couple of items, though. More often than not, you ended up staying for much longer. Unlike traditional department stores, Kmart offered shopping carts, encouraging customers to browse, wander, and fill them up. For kids, Kmart was an absolute adventure. The toy department was massive and, most importantly, affordable. Rows of Matchbox and Hot Wheels cars hung from pegboards, priced low enough that you might actually convince your parents to let you take one home. Nearby, the electronics section buzzed with excitement as kids crowded around Atari consoles, playing games like Pitfall or Missile Command. Just down another aisle, you'd find tropical fish, parakeets, and hamsters. Near the auto center, walls of car stereos and speakers blasted music loud enough to annoy shoppers half a store away. And of course, there was the food. A bag of freshly popped Kmart popcorn, maybe a cherry icy, and if you needed a real break from shopping, the Kmart calf waited at the back of the store, serving fried chicken, Salisbury steak, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, gravy, and a toasted bun with butter. All the while, you listened for those familiar words over the loudspeaker. Attention, Kmart shoppers. A blue light special could happen at any moment, and when it did, shoppers rushed toward the glowing blue beacon. Chasing a deal that felt exciting, spontaneous, and just plain fun. Kmart wasn't just a place to shop, it was part of American culture. It was where many kids bought their back-to-school clothes, stiff new jeans, cheap sneakers, notebooks, trapper keepers, and lunchboxes decorated with the latest movie or cartoon characters. It was where families spent time together, even if that time was just wandering fluorescent-lit aisles on a Saturday afternoon. But what no one realized at the time was that the 1980s would also mark the beginning of the end. In November of 1990, Walmart officially surpassed Kmart to become the largest retailer in the United States. From that point on, things began to change, not for the better. The familiar Kmart logo was replaced. The iconic blue light was taken away. Cafés disappeared, replaced by partnerships that just lacked the same charm. Stores were rebranded as Big K, promising brighter lights, wider aisles, and a more modern look. But something was missing. The new Kmart felt bland, generic. It no longer had the personality that had once made it so special. Kmart found itself stuck in the middle, unable to match Walmart's rock-bottom prices and efficiency, and unable to compete with Target's style and quality. In 2002, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. After coming under the control of investor Edward Lampert and merging with Sears, cost-cutting replaced innovation. Little was reinvested back into the business, stores deteriorated, and customers drifted away. A second bankruptcy followed in 2018. From a peak of nearly 2,500 stores and 350,000 employees, Kmart has been reduced to just a few locations scattered across Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Long Island, and Miami. For most people, Kmart now exists only in memory, and when we remember it, we don't think of the bright, generic Big K stores. We remember beige tile floors, buzzing fluorescent lights, the smell of popcorn, and the excitement of hearing that announcement over the loudspeakers signaling another blue light special. Kmart may be gone from our everyday lives, but for those who grew up with it, it will always represent a simpler time, a place where saving money felt exciting, shopping felt communal, and a trip to the store was an experience worth remembering. Thanks for watching.